Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam, and joining me tonight, Daniel Lim, and hopefully Leon will be on soon as he gets home. So, Dan, how are you doing?
Good, brother. How are you?
I am well. The listeners may have noticed we did not have a show last month. I apologise. I had a family bereavement, plus the fact that there's a lack of inspiration, Dan, because, we've spoken on and off over the last few weeks about how shit boxing has been recently.
Yeah, there just hasn't been enough topics to discuss, I think. So I think rightfully so. Even if we did have a show, we would have just been treading water at best. But obviously we had a legend fight this past Saturday, even if it was against a very washed up Matthysse. Still think it's, proper that we pay our due respect to, a legend, even if he's at the final steps of his career.
Yeah, let's get that into the limb, because obviously, you are a cornerstone of the, the wild card, considering you,
Sure.
You trained there since you were young, and obviously, they're your people, even though, the wild card has kind of fell off, in recent years when it comes to some of the boxers that are coming out of there. But yeah, what did you think of Manny's performance? And is it a case of Matthysse made him look good, or what do you think?
Yeah, Matthysse was tailor made for Manny. Manny actually looked pretty good physically. He was probably on some PEDs, which is good. I support that. The guy's 39 years old. And I just don't care at this point anymore with what Manny does. His legacy has already been established before the Mayweather fight. So whatever Manny chooses to do with his career, I really don't care. He's always going to be one of my favorite fighters of all time. Probably the main reason why I got into the sport was because of Manny and just what he did, starting out with the, his early HBO days. But, regarding this fight, I don't think Manny got better since the Horn fight. I just think Matthysse was tailor-made for him. Matthysse looked absolutely god-awful. And when Joel Diaz asked Manny Pacquiao to sign his guitar pre-fight, I knew this fight was over. Because that was one of the bummiest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was weird.
Building up to the fight.
He was asking Bayless for the pen. I'm like, bro, you're going to bring the guitar? At least bring your own pen.
Yeah, he probably brought like a pink Sharpie and he needed a black one from Bayless. Wow, that sounded racist, even though I wasn't trying to be racist, but I just think the fight was fucking awful. I thought it was so bad. I don't know how to really discuss the actual sequences of the fight, just because I thought Matthysse was so shitty. And Matthysse just, I don't know what it is, because when he fought at 140, I actually thought he was a pretty well-built 40-pounder, and I thought he could move up to 147, but he looked awful. Manny looked like the better, younger, more spry fighter in there, even physically speaking, just in terms of his body shape and his composition. I thought Manny looked pretty sturdy last night, or on Saturday rather. And Matthysse just, I thought he threw a couple of decent right hands in that first round that I think Manny just barely evaded, and had those landed, maybe that would have changed the kind of the pacing of the fight, but Manny just schooled him. And Matthysse was so porous on defense. He got clipped so many times with that uppercut from Manny, which isn't a punch that I'm accustomed to seeing Manny actually land. So for him to just land that repeatedly on Matthysse, I think was kind of embarrassing. And I'm not sure if Matthysse, if he quit. I mean, he did quit, obviously, in the sense of not wanting to, pursue the fight after the third round, but I just felt like he was getting tagged so frequently in that fight. And I actually think that that second knockdown, the tempo shot, really hurt him. And after that, I just knew the fight was going to be ending quite soon. So, Matthysse, he needs to hang him up. Danny Garcia took that soul. And even though he had a pretty decent run at 140, I think he's really going to be remembered as somebody whose light shined brightly for a very short period of time, but burned, even kind of more drastically than that. So I'm really disappointed in Matthysse. I used to be a huge fan of his, but he's just completely shot.
Yeah, I was shocked how bad Lucas was. We've seen him against Provodnikov, where his head movement was excellent. He kept rolling and knee Provodnikov's hooks and, kind of pivoting out. But he had little to no head movement against Manny, and when he did kind of leap in with, shots that most people wouldn't even try because he was so far out, lead left hooks or kind of a counter right hand, and Manny just kind of stepped back and just did those sweet counters that Manny usually does when he kind of attacks with the first and the third, and yeah, I was just really shocked. I obviously picked Manny to win. I didn't think he'd probably get the stoppage, but I didn't think he would win so easily as well. I thought Lucas would give him at least some competition. But yeah, I was very disappointed in Lucas. But with Manny, I said it in the past, and his volume obviously is not the same, which you can understand with his age. And I'd stand by my point that I made a couple of months ago or last year when, I do kind of want this older generation out the game now for, the other guys to kind of step in, and I do stand by that, but it was refreshing to see kind of Manny back and like throwing a lot of punches, hurting guys, throwing combinations, and I was surprised that second knockdown, you mentioned it, Lim, and it didn't seem that powerful of a punch, but Matthysse just looked really distraught by it, but I wanted to ask your opinion, after the Postal fight, and then Matthysse came out and said that, he couldn't really see out of the eye and that's why he kind of quit. If that was a genuine excuse, do you think that's just the point where Matthysse is now, where if he gets hit in that region, he's just thinking, shit, I might go blind, so fuck this?
Yeah, I think that's definitely plausible. And I think that second knockdown, the reason why I mentioned that specifically is because I've encountered fighters who've gotten hit at the temple at kind of like the right spot, and it has a really kind of interesting impact on the fighter. And it's really hard to explain. Like it's this sensation that isn't like necessarily getting hurt in, like a traditional way of like, just getting a really great hook landed on your chin. It's like a different sensation altogether. And I think Matthysse just got freaked out by that. And whether that had any kind of connection to his eye injury to the past, I'm not quite sure. But I just think Matthysse, he's just shot, after the Danny fight. And that got obviously, exaggerated against Postal. Just, he doesn't respond to punches, clean punches very well. And I think he's one of those bully type of fighters whose style is predicated so much on him having the upper hand from like a mental standpoint, that I just think he's one of those mental midgets that folds under duress. And it's startling because I went back and, leading up to this fight, I was watching a couple of Mathisse's old fights, especially the fight against Lamont Peterson, who is still a pretty good fighter. Lamont is probably top 5, top 10, either at 140 or 147, and nobody defeated him like Matthysse did. And I just think he's one of those rare cases where so much of his ability to fight is based on his confidence. And after that Danny Garcia fight, it's just non-existent.
Yeah, definitely. Leon, you've jumped on the line. If you're talking, Leon, you're muted or there's a problem because we cannot hear you. Leon?
But just one more thing, actually, Cam, you mentioned the Provodnikov fight, and I haven't seen that fight twice, but if I take your word for it, just based on his head movement and his ability to kind of pivot, like Matthysse always had pretty decent foot movement. He was always a decent boxer, and I don't know whether he just doesn't care about training anymore, but I remember leading up to this fight, I was watching, like his workout videos or whatever, and he never seemed to get in better shape. So
I do maybe think he's one of those dudes that started making good money and just didn't have the work ethic. We get that with a lot of the Argentine big punches, though. It must be something in the water. But Leon, stop making loads of background noise.
Sorry.
What's happening, Leon?
I'm good, man. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. What are you talking about?
Myself and Lim are just talking about Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao?
Yeah.
You watch it?
He's back. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word he's back because it's...
No, he's juiced off his nut.
What did you think?
He looked good, but I didn't think much of Lucas. I think he looked like he'd badly slipped. Is that just me?
No,
like
we agree.
movement, no energy, no snapping, anything. Like Lynn was saying, I watched a little bit of training stuff, some bits I saw on Twitter, and he didn't look like he was in shape to face Pacquiao. Like, even if Pacquiao's at the end of his career, he's still like going to challenge you just with his, what he's got left of his physical gifts, and his ring. Like, he's still a very good fighter, so he wasn't prepared for that fight. He didn't look like he came to win in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, me and Lim basically said the same thing. We were both really disappointed with Matthysse.
But like, Matthysse is one of those guys, like, everyone gets hyped up on him because it's like fun fights, and, fights are the most important thing in this sport, and he's given us a lot of fun fights, but I think we've also probably been prone to overrating him, or kind of choosing not to see the negatives. And then, like, when this thing starts happening, it kind of all becomes quite clear that he might have been
I've definitely
he had to be at his best. He had to be at his physical best to bring his best, his best game.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, you can't have a little off night and work his way through a fight. I don't think he's capable of doing that.
No, I've definitely been in that position before where I kind of overrated him. I thought Provodnikov would have gotten to him, but he didn't. He managed to kind of really outbox Provodnikov and hurt him and, fuck up his face as most people do. But it's when the fights you think he's gonna win and he loses. Like, I thought he'd beat Danny. I'm a Danny Garcia hater. So he let me down there, and I thought he would have beaten Victor Postol, and that was a fight that shown us he's kind of got a bit of quit in him, and that resurfaced again on Saturday. But even before Saturday, the fight in Inglewood at the start of the year against Tua Kirim, like, I saw signs then where this dude's not got it anymore. Like, yeah, his power got him out of the trouble, got the knockout, but up until that point he was losing, and even against Emmanuel Taylor, at the start he wasn't looking too good until he got a stoppage. But yeah, man,
But do you think, like, we ask too much of our fighters, like all that Floyd Pack thing, the O thing, like, fighters are probably at their best for like 18 months to 2 years, like most fighters, aren't they? Their best years. It's not like do we expect too much longevity from fighters?
Possibly.
We're too demanding.
I think that window that you mentioned is a bit short, though. I think, like, they should have
maybe
a 5-6 year window, but yes, possible, because even like Lucas is getting up there with age. But look at Manny, man, he's knocking on 40, and he looked ripped, whether he was juicing to the gills or not.
But maybe what I mean is, like, maybe not like it's a 2-year run. Your best fights, like, or if you go on a run over 2 years and you fight all your good fights, that's often like as much as you get out of some people. Maybe you're right, maybe 3 to 4 years, but like, maybe we're just asking too much of Lucas.
The problem is, even with 3 to 4 years, it's the fact whether they get the fights, like how.
Yeah, that's the problem.
How often have you had guys in their prime, but either they can't get the fights or no one wants to fight him?
But I don't think anyone can complain about Lucas's willingness to fight people. Yeah. I don't think there can be any complaints from him, when he's fought them.
Lucas has come out and said he's unsure about his future. Would you be happy if he just hung him up?
He said he was honoured to share the ring with Manny Pacquiao. Like, that talk, that's enough. Like, someone needs to
that's taking a knee talk.
Yes,
and I don't know if you heard, Leon, but I don't know if you saw Joel Diaz asking Manny to sign his guitar.
Well, there you go.
It was over. No, but exactly. I think with Lucas, another reason why his I just like the way we assess him is so negative is because the first like big step up fight against Danny, who was the most hated fighter at that time, just to see like his performance change at the level of opposition, maybe it had to do with it, but I don't know. I thought Lucas was actually a really, really good fighter after that, the Mike Dallas, his counter pull right hand. Like, that punch to me is something that only high level fighters can do. And I still think he's a really good fighter. I just think mentally he just got completely destroyed after that fight.
It is weird.
I think that's that's both their best. I don't think Danny has been as good as he was that night, and I don't think he ever will be as good as he was that night again. And like that was Lucas's moment, and he missed it. That's how I surmise that.
Well, secretly in my heart, I always give Lucas a pass for that fight because of the eye injury. I think he possibly could have done better if his eye didn't close up, but we'll never know. But it is weird how, you know, guys that can punch you hard in the face can't either take a punch in the face or kind of quit under pressure. But it's the kind of storyline we often see in boxing.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Either of you got anything else? Actually, regarding the fight until I get into some more questions about Manny's future?
No, nothing from me.
I guess like regarding the whole production of the fight and the atmosphere, I thought I don't mind seeing Manny fight kind of in these like regional fights, but I don't want to see him in a big kind of US fight anymore. I don't want to see him on pay-per-view. I don't want to see him fight against, you know, these lower level guys. It's just kind of a circus show at this point. So I don't really know what to make of it. I think Matthysse was tailor-made for him, obviously, but I really don't know what he does considering all the other guys at that weight class are so much younger than him and fresher than him.
Bob Arum came out and said that, kind of confronted a remark made on ESPN's broadcast that Manny owed like $20 million in debt to the IRS, and that may be the reason why he's not fought in the States. Bob said it's less than that, and they're trying to iron out his debts and sort that out. But do you think he'll just, you know, fight the rest of his 2 to 3 fights? That's what he said as well. He said he's got like 2 to 3 fights maybe left in him. Just fight that, you know, outside of the States like he's currently doing, or do you think he needs to be in the US?
I have no idea. I'm not Michael Kant, so I don't know his financial situation, but if I had to guess, I would guess his financial situation isn't all that great. And with the IRS, you can always undergo some kind of payment plan. So if he wants to pay a certain percentage of that fee over the course of 30 to 35 years, he can certainly do that. But I don't even know who can Manny possibly fight in the States and actually make a decent purse.
If they're saying he's owing any kind of millions, like, I would just fuck him off and just never step foot back in the country again and say, fucking come and get my money and extradite me from Malaysia. Go fuck yourselves.
I mean, the guy wants to be president of the Philippines.
So why does he need
to associate? Why does he need to associate himself with the U.S. anymore? He doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need them. He should just tell them to go.
Yeah.
Just shove it. It'll make more money. Sell more tickets over there. Like, he doesn't need the TV money. Like, he could just turn up to the opening of an envelope in his home country, can't he? And they'd all turn up. So
yeah.
Just screw it.
Do you guys know how much he got paid? Because I know Lucas got paid $2.5 million. I wonder what Manny got.
No idea about Manny's purse, but, you know, there were kind of scares before the fight that, you know, the fight might not even go ahead, but all the production and stuff, it seemed to go without a hitch. So, I guess like Manny Pacquiao Promotions, I think it's probably, you know, their biggest fight they've solely promoted. Seems pretty good.
And he should go and fight there anyway, because those people have spent fucking fortunes flying over to see him fight in Vegas and all that stuff. He should just stay there and fight his last 3 fights there for be the man of the people, right? That's what I'd do.
Well, he didn't fight in the Philippines, did he? He fought in Malaysia.
Oh, did he not? I didn't know. Yeah, but you know.
Yeah, but
it's a bit cheaper than getting to Vegas.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. Just stay there. That's the most sensible thing to do.
Take the US out of the equation though, Lim. Like, are there any fighters that would, you know, tickle your fancy when it comes to, you know, money? Obviously, the obvious name is Lomachenko, but there's an article on Boxing Scene that came out earlier today, and Igis Klimas, Lomachenko's manager, saying that, you know, Manny would have to go down to 135. There would be no catch weight, but if I was Lomachenko, I'd be like rubbing my hands, you know, even to go up to 40 to fight Pacquiao, because, you know, that's a name to have on your resume.
But
so
let me ask you guys, does that fight do anything for Lomachenko?
Nothing. That's just what I was about to say. With the amount of heat he gets anyway, doing something like that is just leaving himself open to so much criticism that it's not.
Sure.
Do you know what? That's probably me just personally not wanting that to happen, so we don't have to listen to Nauta scream at us.
but
there's other people out there as well as that, but I just don't think it does anything for him. Like, I think he's been mucking around enough as it is, really, like jumping around. Like, he needs to, and that's not his fault. He's done fantastically well in his career, Lomachenko, up to this day, but like, I still feel it's a very erratic career.
And the reason why, obviously the analogous situation is the De La Hoya fights against Manny and Floyd, but De La Hoya was still a superstar at that time. He still had a ton of bargaining power, and he was the A side. And if Lomachenko's manager is asking Pacquiao to come down to 35, I mean, you're already kind of seeing a different shade of Manny. And this Manny fight against Matthysse was shown on the fucking app here in the States. It wasn't even on ESPN. You had to pay $5 for a fucking app to watch it. So if Lomachenko fights Manny, is that going to be on pay-per-view? I don't think so. And if it is, it's not going to do much. So but what's the fucking point?
Even when De La Hoya had those Passover fights, people still said, I'm sure if we go back over history, people still said it's not a great win. De La Hoya was shot potentially. It's not like I just think Pacquiao's
right.
He's part of a past, and Lomachenko needs to concentrate on exactly what's in front of him and just not jumping up and going up doing there. Like, he just needs to. There's enough good fighters around him. I think he beats a lot of most of them. Just fight them all. He's in a hurry to it, not as another silly catch-weighty fight like with a guy who's clearly past it.
Yeah, I agree. Floyd and Manny fought De La Hoya, they were already established fighters, much more established than Lomachenko is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. De La Hoya chose to fight them for a reason as well. It wasn't like he was being completely I think there's people, wrap that kind of the passing of a torch, this great romantic idea. He picked them because they were going to sell tickets and do pay-per-view buys. That's why he fought them, not out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah, Floyd De La Hoya, I think, is still the third highest grossing pay-per-view of all time. And Manny versus De La Hoya did over $1 million too. So, and like you said, Leon, that didn't do anything for Manny's career, but at least in the short term, at least when it was made, it did a lot for Manny. Whereas in this situation, if Loma fights his Manny, what's it going to do for Lomachenko?
It's interesting because I see a lot of your points and I agree to most of them, but there's a part of me that would love to see this fight. I don't know whether it's the fact that it's just two highly skilled guys. Even though Manny, is on his way out, he's shown against Lucas that I think he could kind of compete with Lomachenko. So,
I'd watch it, Cam. Not a problem. But I'm talking in the kind of. I think me and Dan are thinking a bigger picture. Maybe Dan won't watch it, but I'd watch it. Fuck it. But
I know I'll watch it. I love Manny, so
yeah,
and I love Lomachenko too. So
yeah,
of course.
If they say that's next, fine.
Maybe I'm just really, really stupid, and I just think Manny is. I actually do think he's probably taking PEDs, which is crazy for me to say because I'm the last person to ever accuse anybody, especially if it's my idol. But I think Manny would have trouble even making 140 at this point. Just because he's almost 40 years old, and once you get to that age, I don't know how much you can really cut weight. And I think there's a reason why Manny hasn't fought in 140 in so long. When's the last time he fought at 40?
He fought Vargas at 47, but he came in at almost just under 145. So I think he fought Chris Algieri at a catch rate that was 143.5 or something like that. Last time he fought at 40. Ricky Hatton.
Lomachenko might be the only fight. Who else does he fight if he doesn't fight Lomachenko? That might be his only option.
Yeah, well, that was my next question. Take Lomachenko out of the picture. Is there any other people in the welterweight division, as Thurman would say, that you'd like to see him against?
I like this.
Alvarado.
I like this. This Tim Bradley fella.
The quadrilogy.
Not again.
Where do you want? Where should that fight take place?
In the desert.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's.
I don't know who he fights.
Same question. Yeah, if it's not him, he's obviously not going to fight Jeff Horn, who has no belt.
Jeff Horn was.
Not Spence. I mean,
Jeff Horn was calling him out after the fight as well, which is quite hilarious. Like, you got schooled against Crawford, now you want another payday against Manny. Come on, bro.
I think two fights that they don't make sense, but I would actually be kind of intrigued by them is Pacquiao versus Broner and Pacquiao versus Danny Garcia if Danny Garcia beats Sean Porter, because I actually think he matches up pretty decently against Danny. Not so much Sean Porter.
Well, I don't want to jump on the Khan bandwagon again, but I wouldn't mind seeing Pacquiao versus Khan just for speed versus speed, to be honest.
Yeah, that's not too bad either. That'd be a pretty interesting matchup.
Lim, that fills up Wembley Stadium.
Yeah, it probably would.
Not for me. No, I don't mind that fight either. Like, if that was, again, like, I think it's at this point in the career with Pacquiao, as long as it's a half decent name, that's what we've got to expect.
Yeah. Anything else regarding Manny?
Freddie Roach rejects going at it.
like the good old days of the wild card.
I thought Boo Boy, brought out the best in Manny, so Boo Boy is in contention for Trainer of the Year in 2018.
Yeah, he brought out the best by injecting him and stuff.
Yeah. No, Manny did look really, I don't recall Manny being this, like, not so much shredded, but just this jacked in quite some time, so I wonder where that's coming from.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
You guys want to discuss anything on the undercard? I'm pretty cool just to pass it, even though
I didn't see anything.
Even there was a guy called Lou Bin that got.
Yeah, I saw the Lou last name Bin, first name Lou, last name Bin. He was terrible. I know it was a second fight, and I know I commend him for trying to win a title in a second fight, but he was terrible. He was fucking terrible.
I think he beat the fight. It wasn't terrible. I think he just used the wrong game plan. Like, he was trying to sit in the pocket and exchange with the guy that was better in the pocket than him, and was landing clean on him. And the odd time he did adjust and kind of boxed a bit, he had bits of success. But yeah, overall, he kind of took a beating, man.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. The undercard fight too, the Filipino kid against the Mexican guy from Tijuana who was sponsored by a strip club. Oh, in Tijuana. I thought that was pretty funny. But that's pretty much it for me.
Alright. Lim, did you manage to see the Regis Prograis fight?
I did.
What did you think?
Yeah, I like Prograis. I don't know. Leon, did you watch the fight?
I didn't see that fight. No, I didn't see that fight.
I'll make it super quick. Prograis, I think, is a dangerous guy. He does get clipped a lot. So I used to think that he would beat Ramirez pretty handedly, and I still think he beats him, but I actually think it would be a pretty decent fight. He is pretty leaky defensively, but I really like his attack to the body. I really, really like his just focus on the body. So Prograis is like a really fan-friendly fighter, but I still think Josh Taylor could beat both of those guys.
Yeah, I think Prograis is one of those guys who'd rather land on you and he doesn't really think about what's coming back. I think Crawford came out and said the same thing, that he got clipped a bit too much, but he's fun to watch and he carries power in both hands, and yeah, his bodywork is excellent. So apparently he's entering the World Boxing Super Series at 140, so that should make for some interesting fights. But that's about it from me.
I agree. Yeah, and then on the undercard, just gonna give a shout out to my boy Teofimo Lopez. He fought an average level fighter that fought that Puerto Rican kid, I feel like Verdagio. He was able to stop him. So it was, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, I don't know, like, ESPN are really, on dick riding him, man, and I see the potential and I see, the excitability, but I see a lot of flaws as well, the way he kind of jumps in with his left hooks and right hands, and someone with decent countering ability would, I don't know, I think he caused Teofimo some issues. What's the name of that dude that you were telling me about, Lim, from Vegas? I think they've sparred and they kind of had back and forth. Yeah, Haney. I think Haney.
Yeah, Haney would beat him.
Yeah, Haney would cause him fits, I think.
Haney's a really good fighter though, so. if he loses to Devin Haney, that's not that much of an issue. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about that card.
That's fine.
I'm sorry for being so abrupt.
No,
I just wanted to get Leon in the mix because it's been so long since we've been on the show together.
Leon's a casual now. He only watches like one fight a week, even though he kind of bugs me to do a podcast every Monday, I think.
Like, I'm just really excited to talk about
There was numerous lies in that statement.
All right, did you watch Rocky from Stocky?
Yes, I did begrudgingly watch that fight.
Are you proud to have a new world champion from these shores?
He's not a world champion. I only watched this fight to stop Chemo bitching and whining and moaning, because he was like a little teenage girl on Saturday night, wasn't he, with excitement?
Chemo was horrible.
Yeah, absolutely horrible. But I have no problem, like, it's not a world belt. Those two guys aren't good enough to be in a world title fight. If it had been a European level fight, a Euro belt, I've said that was a good win for Rocky, for him. You know, it's kind of, if you took the belt away, it's still a kind of good win for him because that's his level and he did well getting rid of him. But like, it's being elevated above where it's at. Like, that's a European level standard fight, really, isn't it? Because neither of those guys have proven themselves to be anything above that level, really.
No, I 100% agree, and that's the problem, you know, especially in the sport, but especially with WBA, where there's too many belts, and you can feel like the casual fans, but the real fans know this is, like you said, that was a kind of European title fight, and props to Rocky. I didn't really expect him to go out and do it. I obviously know that he carries a bit of power, but Zug always looked a bit like he could take a good shot, and he looked quite rugged and comfortable. But yeah, man, Rocky.
He's small though, isn't he, compared to Rocky Fielding?
Yeah, he's a small super middle, but
yeah.
I think he's one of those super middles that you can't make middle, and he's slightly small for super middle, but
like John Ryder.
Yeah,
like that kind of thing. Yeah,
but even Ryder, like he probably deserves that rematch because
I thought Ryder beat Fielding.
I did too, but that was a horrible fight to watch, man. The amount of like grappling and holding in that fight, it was one of the worst fights I've seen. So I kind of don't want a rematch just because of how bad it was.
But that's my problem with it. That's his next fight. Like it's becoming more of a Euro belt. Like it's not. It's like belt. You're never going to be good enough to have a world title, but we'll let you have we'll say it's a world title somehow. Like, this is the reason we haven't done a podcast in months, is all this kind of shit. You know, all this, like, how many times have we had this conversation? And I'm sure we're going to go on to talk about it later, but how many times have we had the conversation regarding negotiations and all this kind of fucking horrendous bullshit? Like, that's the problem, is if that had just been a Euro level fight, we could have gone, that's a good little scrap. But it's dressed up as something else, and we're not fucking morons, but moaning about it every week probably wasn't doing us any good either.
Sure.
And that's why that card like that frustrates me.
Is this the regular WB or the actual, like, quote unquote super?
I don't know. I don't understand who's got what in the super middleweight division.
Yeah, I had to look it up. This is the regular, and George Groves has got the super.
And then there's So George Groves has got the belt. Yeah. So Rocky Fielding should have to fight George Groves, but no one wants to see that, do they?
You know the best thing about Rocky winning that regular title is the fact that Callum Smith has been like mandatory for the WBC for like 7 decades. And a guy that he knocked out in the first round has become a belt holder before him. Like, that's just hilarious in my opinion.
That's complete mess. But actually, Cam, like, really, if you look at Rocky Fielding and Zuga's thing, like, have they got enough good wins to really even justify a European belt? Just about, maybe. Like, none, like, those
I think
CBs aren't on fire, are they?
I think Zug probably has, yeah. Fielding, possibly, like, after that loss, he kind of rebuilt a bit, you know, beat Rabras, beat Ryder, even though a lot of people thought he'd lost. Brophy iced him in a round. Yeah, possibly.
Possibly, but
he
it's
beat
still
Brian
not.
Vera.
Oh, yeah.
He TKO'd Brian Vera.
I forgot about that.
Oh, shit, yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, Good for
That
him,
division
I
is-
guess.
That division is a mess though, because me and Cam were just discussing before the show, Leon, about the whole Super Series and that coming to its conclusion, and arguably the three best 168 pounders aren't in that tournament, and they haven't fought each other either. So you got great fighters like Ramirez and Usyk and David Benavidez, and yet we haven't seen them actually fight elite opposition to this point.
Yeah, but that's on their like.
Yeah,
I think you can only you got to say fair play to people who did enter it. Like I think all of those guys made a mistake, like staying out of it, because that division is like those names. No one's selling tickets, are they? Out of that, even those three. Like it's not like it's on. They all need each other much more than they can do on their own. If that makes sense. Like they all need each other. But and I don't know what James DeGale's up to. Like I mean, I think he might be having a nervous breakdown or something. But
I mean, he relinquished his title, right? His IBF title.
He's fucking. The thing that fucking sickens me about that stuff is, it's not fair on UKAT. Let's just call him UKAT because I can't pronounce that name. Like it's not fair on him because now he gets tarnished with it wasn't. It was a vacant belt and all this kind of stuff. It's just so frustrating for him. Like because he'll never have an opportunity. That might be his big opportunity to have a big fight against DeGale, and he just shat it away.
DeGale doesn't want to lose any more teeth, so I think we can give him a pass, man. Come on.
Fuck that.
Those dental fees are expensive. Now, I agree, like...
It's not fair on him.
No, DeGale, like, when he was chasing Froch, and, like, Froch was umming and ahhing about whether to fight DeGale, because he had him as the mandatory, and decided to kind of give the belt up, and DeGale...
You put that screen grab out, didn't you, Cam, from that interview?
Yeah, what goes around comes around. He was shitting on Froch, calling him a pussy and stuff like that. And then now you're the pussy, so there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Accept it.
There's so much vitriol in Cam's soul for certain fighters. I love it.
I'm a DeGale fan, bro. I was.
You are.
Yeah, but like no one's complaining about like he's always in a good fight and he like lets himself get into good fights and he's fought people
right.
and he's been a road warrior and and everyone says we should give him a pass. But it's not like he's passing. If that was a big name, he wouldn't pass it up, would he? That's my problem. No. Like so, he's kind of taken that guy's opportunity or diminished his potential achievement a bit.
Yeah, like
sure.
In most people's eyes, he would probably consider Usyk as like high risk, low reward, and James is just for the cheddar these days. He just wants the big money and.
But I think he's been elevated to the real champion or something. Like so, he's not even fighting so he's been given his belt. Like it's just all
in the post.
It's like the Quigg situation. He's got the belt before he's had the fight.
Yeah.
Horseshit.
And it's really bad luck for DeGale because IBF is probably the only title organization that would actually strip him. So if he had the other three belts, he probably could have held on to it and just waited out for a potential gross fight, which would have been obviously massive. But he's stuck with the IBF, who's very, very strict about those things. So unfortunate for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think for me personally, as like I'm the definition of a complete casual fan. I just think the UK fighters have the best names, and I think that adds some appeal to the fight. Like Rocky Fielding is a fantastic name. John Ryder is a fucking fantastic name. I don't know these fights, but if you put Ryder versus Fielding, I'm watching that shit.
Yeah, like if you were like Ryder as well, you would come out to Tupac, innit? Ambition as a Rider. That'd be like your ring walk music, man. How can you not use that? But shall we move on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously, we were away for 2 months. A lot of fights happened. I don't really want to go over everything just because it'd probably be a 6-hour show. So shall we just kind of pick and choose that?
We can fire off one-liners about each fight, probably.
Oh, that'd be fun. All right, should we try that then?
Come on then.
All right, Stevenson versus Badu Jack.
Everybody loses.
Equals draw.
Because the only reason I like that fight is because someone was going to lose.
And it didn't happen?
Exactly. Even the scumbag who used to be a pimp or the TMT fanboy, and that would have just been hilarious just to laugh at all that lot. But I got a draw instead. So, I mean, it's just fucking pointless.
What do you think of the fight, Lim?
Jeez Louise. I don't really have much to say. It's like, who wants it less? I think Stevenson thinks, Jesus Christ, man. I like Badu Jack. I think Leon is a fan of Badu Jack, and I am too. I like his story. But as kind of like good as a fighter as he is in pretty much every phase of the game, the fact that Adonis was able to still change the tide of that fight, I think in the 9th or 10th round with a couple of big left hands, even though he was so gassed, I just felt kind of bad for Badu. Because I thought Stevenson is just way past it. And for him to be able to kind of pull off a draw or like a 7-5 decision, which is how I scored it, I thought kind of showed Badu's limitations as a fighter, as much as I like the guy. So I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I think I had it a draw at the time, and I was amazed how badly Stevenson did kind of gas. So you did have a few times like the one you mentioned where he had a second wind and managed to maybe win the round back. But yeah, he's faded down the stretch really badly, and it's definitely time for him to hang it up as well, I think. I really hope they don't try and have another rematch. Stevenson is a guy that's just held onto that belt, and he needs to go. Well, he's a guy that he's not fighting, apart from Jack, he's not really fought anyone decent for a long time, so he needs to hang it up and make way for other people.
I think he's... Oh, so sorry to cut you off, Cam, but if not the rematch, I don't think he's going to fight anybody else, because all the other guys in that division are high risk, low reward.
That's fair, but he kind of put himself in that position for like doing nothing for 3-4 years, so there you go. But,
do you think Jack got his tactics wrong? Too much, too little in the early rounds?
Possibly.
I thought he did, but like other people, like Brian was saying to me, do you take that risk with a guy for all of his faults can punch like he hit still a big puncher, isn't he? Like, but I still feel he gave away 4 or 5 rounds in that fight.
I think the fact that he's been iced before, is in the back of his head, and I think he wanted to let Stevenson use some up as energy first before he kind of started to, engage with him and throw more shots. But yeah, maybe he started too late.
I think the same goes for Badu as well. I mean, can you guys see him getting past any of the other champions?
I thought Badu, that's what I meant. I thought Badu didn't do enough early on. I thought Stevenson won, swept early rounds. Yeah.
And then if you give Stevenson one of the last 6 rounds, which is, I think the 9th or 10th was, I don't know if clearly is the right word, but I thought he won one of those rounds pretty convincingly. So I had it at 7-5 for Stevenson.
Yeah, I think it's 1 round either way, that fight. But I think Jack could have won it more by taking more of a risk, but the risk could end up with you getting Chad Dawson, couldn't it?
Yeah. And the thing, like I said, if Badu fights is either Beterbiev or Kovalev or Bivol, he's probably going to get, the chances of him getting sparked are that much higher. So I think for both of those guys, they're in the position where a rematch is most sensible for both of them, even though it's a fight that probably none of us want to see.
Yep. Anything else?
It's going to happen. That rematch will definitely happen.
Yeah, and the place was really filled. I mean, despite being a child, or whatever he was accused of, he still tends to bring out fans in Canada. So that's what happens when you have bum-ass fans. Like Canadian Jose, just come out for anything,
That's because they got no boxes, man. They have to just come out for bums. But
yeah.
Same night, different venue, Gary Russell fought Jojo Diaz for his WBC featherweight belt. Lim, I remember, I think we talking to you after this fight. You were kind of impressed with the way Jojo started, but he faded and Gary took over.
I actually want to hear, Leon, did you watch this fight?
No, I did not see this fight. If I did, I can't remember it.
Okay, that's not a good sign.
No.
You know what? I rarely describe fighters like this, but to me, Jojo is a elite body puncher. And I was texting you this, Cam, while the fight was taking place. After 4 or 5 rounds, I was like, dude, I'm a huge fan of Jojo. I'm converted. Because I thought Gary Russell was gonna just deteriorate. I thought he was gonna gas out eventually, but Gary Russell has probably one of the most impressive stamina kind of factors or ability in the game right now. For him to be able to sustain that pace for 12 rounds is amazing to me. And you see that a lot with fighters who are as flashy as Gary Russell, who double jabs and then like who throws like a double like right hand, a double backhand. Do you know what I'm talking about, Cam?
Yeah.
Like he would throw his right hand, which is his backhand, and he would throw it twice like a fucking jab. And he would do that throughout the entire fight. He would throw 7-punch combinations.
Yeah, well,
from round 1 to round 12.
His left hand's his backhand because he's southpaw.
Oh, okay. But for him to be able to throw that kind of combination for 12 rounds against a really aggressive fighter who was committing to the body for the first 6 rounds pretty relentlessly is really commendable. And even though I don't like Russell for his inactivity and just his weird ass demeanor, I still think he's a really, really good fighter. And I don't know that many fighters right now who can maintain that kind of pace at that high of a level against a good fighter like Jojo Diaz. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think Gary Russell, you can make the case that he's the best 126 pounder right now. Him versus Leo. Those are the top 2 guys.
Did you leave the fight slightly disappointed with Jojo?
Yeah, Jojo's very one-dimensional. He's very basic. He doesn't throw a jab very well. He kind of, he foregoed, or he just relinquished his jab pretty much the second half of the fight, and he was just trying to throw body punches, which I love, obviously. We all love body punchers, but he didn't change it up at all. He didn't try to, mask it behind anything at all. So even though he's a fantastic body puncher and I really like his style, he's going to struggle against people like Gary Russell, who's going to be able to obviously throw him different looks.
Yep. All right. Leon, let's go to you. Your lovely wife Ruth is from the city of Leeds, and the city of Leeds have gained their first boxing world champion. Let's discuss. Josh Warrington, Lee Selby on May 19th at Ellen Road. It was a pretty good fight overall. I didn't expect it to be. Like, I really had egg on my face after that because I thought it was going to be a one-sided schooling, but I was impressed with Warrington and slightly
bemused.
Yeah, bemused, disappointed with Selby, but I guess he came out with the weight excuse afterwards. But man, he's a tall guy for the division, and he's been at that weight for many years. And yeah, I think it was just one fight too many. What do you think?
Yeah. Is it also like for a guy who's like meant to be a kind of tactical, skillful fighter? If you get beaten by your opponent where he's doing things that he does really well over and over again, it means that he hasn't been able to change anything in the fight, has he? Like Warrington didn't beat him with something new that he hasn't been able to train for 6 months. Do you know what I mean? Like nothing was added to his game particularly that made you think, that's a new look. Like he just didn't have the energy, or like didn't look like he wanted to be there.
Only thing
and Warrington's fighting style took advantage. Like that's perfect for Warrington, isn't it? If someone's going to be kind of nervous or timid in there, which he looked a bit or stroke drained, that fits what Warrington wants to do perfectly, doesn't it?
The only thing I could say maybe that we've not seen that often from Warrington is that amount of work rate. I thought his work rate was excellent. He just kept throwing, man. He kept coming forward. Selby was going back in straight lines, and he was always at the end of the punch, and he was landing, obviously. So Warrington's got lack of power, but it didn't really matter because his output was so high, and he was landing clean shots, and Selby couldn't adjust. He couldn't really do anything about it.
I thought he even hurt him a couple of times. Not hurt him, but it looked like he might get a funny stoppage at some point,
Yeah, there was definitely spurts where Selby looked a bit distressed in that, but I don't know. It was a decent fight. I didn't expect it to be as it was, and Frank Warren was trying to copy Hearn with all these stadium fights, and the stadium was full. People seemed to enjoy it, man, and I thought it was pretty good for British boxing. Where Warrington goes next, I'm not really sure because he's kind of the weakest belt holder at 126 now. He's already. It's weird because if Selby would have won, I think we all could agree that Selby would have fought Frampton in August or September at stadium in Ireland, and Warrington's not going to do that, man. He's filling his own stadium.
Doesn't need to, does he?
Exactly, where Selby kind of needed to do that because he's not really got a home base, or home fan base. But yeah, no, I'm just a bit afraid, Leon, that belt's going to be hostage in the UK for a couple of years.
Oh, it's already in. That's in lockdown. That's in a bunker somewhere. Like we don't see because that's the one downside of the IBF is their top tens are regularly the weakest.
Yeah, they're mandatories of people you never heard of.
Yes, exactly. So he can go. I'll fight my three mandatories, not a problem. Probably because they'll be maybe a bit of a challenge, but they'll be easier than trying to unify any kind of belt. So then he can do that for 3 fights, and then if Frampton's still around, he fights him. But I don't know what the fuck's going on with Frampton either. So I mean, he desperately needs an opponent, I think.
Well, he's got that opponent for his fight at the stadium, and I think that's
bigger
shocking.
than that, doesn't he?
I think that's shocking.
It's not good enough. And Frampton's in that point in his career where he needs to fight the big fights because, we've already enjoyed his career. But it's what do you think? 4 or 5 fights, if that? Or am I being too harsh?
I think that's about right.
Yeah. So, yeah, can he is waiting for Warrington in 3 or 4 fights a good enough way to go out? No, it's not, is it?
No. Lim, did you manage to catch Selby versus Warrington?
I did. Yeah. I'm not going to discuss the fight because you guys already did that well enough, but I just think, Cam, this is a perfect case of I know you like to describe fighters becoming a bum after fighting so many bums consecutively. I think that's exactly what happened to our boy from
the Welsh Mayweather.
The Welsh Mayweather. I just think he fought so many kind of crappy or decent, like below average opponents that he just became a bum.
That's a very fair point.
His career is not good. Like, on paper, that is not good. Doesn't look good. For someone who was a world titleist, like, he hasn't fought enough good guys.
No, when you look at his resume, like, it's pretty awful, really, man.
I mean, everyone will always remember what, happened with the Stephen, like, his fights coming up were good, but it's like, once he became a titleist, like, that's not good enough. Like, once you got the belt, you got to fight better guys. Like, on the way up, that's fine, but once you get there, you've got to, get on with it. And he didn't. He let it slip away.
Yeah, it's funny, like, his performance against Gradovic was pretty good, and that was when Gradovic was still kind of decent, but when he signed with Heyman, and like, one fight, didn't he not fight on like a Wednesday or something in Texas, and then he fought Montiel, and he looked awful.
And got dragged to hell.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Why are you fighting on a Wednesday?
And who was that? The American guy fought in London.
When he got dropped. Eric Hunter, I think. Mm-hmm.
Could have lost that fight.
Yes, it's just a shame, man. But that's what you see what he does at 130. I can't really see him doing much, but even 130 is kind of weakish at the moment, so we'll see. Next fight, Leon. We kind of took a bit of an L for this one in Tokyo on the 25th of May. Jamie McDonnell fought Naoya Inoue, and I thought he would have done better than he did.
What L have we taken?
Well, we kind of rated. We in the past, we have rated Jamie quite highly.
Yeah, fine, but no one was picking him.
No, that's fair, but he kind of embarrassed me a bit, man. I thought he was going to do better.
Yeah, he was poor, wasn't he? Another one hanging around at the weight. Like, I mean, I think that was beyond him. It was a suicide mission, really.
He did look like a White Walker at the weigh-in as well, man. Like, he looked. I've never seen anyone look so bad in a long time. His face was so drawn.
Awful. And he fought like someone who didn't have anything in the tank. Like, he looked gassed straight away, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. What can you say? There's nothing you can say. Inoue looks like a beast, and McDonald made a bad decision.
Yeah, and Inoue's going to be in the World Super Series at Bantam, so that's shaping up to be good. Like a lot of the belt holders, I think there's definitely 3. I'm not sure if there's 4 belt holders in there so far that have signed up, but it's pretty good, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. What's next?
Next is May 26th. We had a card in Fresno. It was Ancas versus Sultan, which was pretty boring fight. I don't know whether it was 2 countrymen fighting each other that kind of cancelled themselves out. But Ankar, he looked really good in the past, but he's almost inspiring mentality against Sultan. But undercard wise, there was a good fight between Kal Yafai and David Kimono. I don't know if you saw it, Leon.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
That was exciting, man. I never seen Yafai come out so quick and like looking to land big heavy shots so soon.
It was good to see. Like, it was good. Like, it was a good performance. No one expected it, but I didn't even know he was really fighting. Like, it just seemed to just come out of nowhere.
And there was a time when he kind of went in for the kill and got hit with I think it was a left hook or a right hand or something, and he kind of buzzed him, and he was hurt and he had to hold on and shit, and he kind of made it for an exciting fight, because you thought, shit, man, is the tide going to turn and is he going to get knocked out? And yeah, it was exciting, man. I think he really, he put his name out there in the States. Whether people are going to fight him or he's going to fight anyone half decent, we'll see, but at least he kind of made a half statement out there.
Oh, absolutely. I have no problem with that, but like, we've said it about him before, he's in such a good division, he should just, like, there's no point plotting around in this, trying to find little routes to different belts and stuff in this kind of division. Just, like, the amount of credit you'd get for just taking the fights would be better than sneaking your way up to grabbing another belt,
Yeah, I've said it to you guys so many times, like, in a loss, there's so much to gain from it. Like, as long as you put in a decent performance, it doesn't matter if you lose, man. Like, there's guys that lose and then get big money shots and title shots in the next couple of fights, man. There's no shame in losing as long as you put in an effort. But
the number of guys who end up losing to people then that they're definitely better than, because they don't keep up their level of competition, is like, there's how many? There's countless numbers of them. So you'd rather have a loss in a good fight against one of the best fighters rather than, fucking up your career.
Yeah. Lynn, I don't know if you've got anything to say. Lynn, anything to say about your fight?
I think. Yeah, I did actually. I like Ankar a lot. I think the reason why that fight was so boring and a sparring match, like you alluded to, is Filipino fighters, they have just a really high reverence for one another. And I think that was the first time two Filipino fighters went at it in a title fight since like the 60s, according to revered Mark Kriegel. So anything Mark Kriegel says, I'm a complete believer.
Mark, Joe, and Ted, and Timothy Bradley, man.
Bradley.
Three Stooges.
Yeah. Nah, I've turned around on Tim Bradley. I like Tim, but I think he gets caught up too much in what Kriegel has to say, because Kriegel is a fucking moron. He's a complete bellend. I hate that guy so much. Like, he'll go off on tangents and he's saying shit and he doesn't even know where it's leading to. So oftentimes he'll just create dead air because he doesn't know what he's trying to say.
And they won't even mention a knockdown because Kriegel's just spewing bullshit.
Yeah. There was a moment in that telecast where he was talking about Lubin and he was mentioning like 2 different paths that Olympians can take, and he couldn't even remember a second point. Like he was saying something about Lomachenko and how he ended up, and he just talked about like Zhu Shiming and just his kind of downfall, and then he just never finished his point.
Yeah, it's crazy. There was a fight, I don't know which one it was, on the undercard, and all 3 of them just started talking about other people, like Lomachenko and other fights, and like for like 2 minutes of the round, they didn't even mention anything that was going on in the ring, man. I thought, come on.
It was so disrespectful, man. I think you're mentioning the second fight on that undercard. It was for a title fight, and they were talking about Manny Pacquiao and just his career and how Tim Bradley fought him 3 times, and that was, I think, the round where he actually got him out of there, or he knocked him down and eventually stopped him. And when that happened, when that exchange happened, they actually started talking about the fight.
Yeah, they were like, oh, it's a knockdown. Oh, there we go. Let's talk about the fight again. But yeah, it's funny how, I'm a Bradley fan as well, but the way Kriegel and Tessitore just suck up to Bradley about the man sitting next to me, like, was in the ring 3 times and, Manny Pacquiao, and he won one of them, and it's like, no, he didn't win that one. Come on. Even Bradley knows he didn't win that fight. It's just fucking terrible, then.
Yep.
Yeah, did you see the Yafai Carmona fight, or should we pass?
No, man. Whenever I think about Cal Yafai, I just imagine, like, your cousin fighting Cam.
So he's bumming.
No. I just think of him because I do know what he looks like, and I think you guys can definitely pass his family members. So I'm a big U5 fan.
Nah, man, I'm much taller than him, man. He's small. But June 9th, Lim, Jeff Horn versus Terence Crawford, man. What did you think of the terrible Aussie?
If Leon, if you want to talk about this fight, please go ahead, because I have nothing to say about it.
Crawford's just good in the and Jeff Horn's not that good, so
Yeah,
the outcome was he got his shit kicked in.
Yeah,
because Crawford's just that didn't need to have, like, you build it up in your head, you think size and all the questions, and then it's just about ability and being a nasty bastard, and Terence Crawford ticks both boxes, doesn't he? So
And
I just want him to be tested.
Jeff Horn,
he beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, Horn only has that one tactic, kind of bull rush you and try and like throw punches on the inside, and if that doesn't work, he hasn't got anything else to rely on.
But the thing is, you see, the other thing is, for how bad Jeff Horn is, I think he does annoy a lot of most fighters in that division beat him, but so if it was Furman, that would have ended up being a horrible fight with Furman on the back foot and like fucking around, or Porter had fought him and been in a horrible wrestling match, or Danny would just about boxed himself to a decision. Like Spence would have done what Crawford did. Like, that's it. But I think Horn would annoy us if he fought the other guys, if you know what I mean. Like, they're that good. That's what you deal with someone like that. But I could see Furman going 12 rounds with Horn and making it horrible, and other fighters. But Crawford and Spence are levels above everyone in that division.
Lim, yep. Do you want to add anything? Or?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I think Crawford is just as good as Lomachenko talent-wise. He doesn't have the resume, but there's not a single thing that Crawford doesn't do well. He can fight in all styles, man, and that's remarkable.
This question isn't really relevant, but I'm just interested to see your opinions. For me personally, like, would you guys, if you had to class his stance, would you guys class him as a southpaw now? Because, for the last couple of years, he comes out southpaw, and basically the whole fight he fights southpaw. There might be the odd occasion where he switches back to orthodox, but would you guys class him as a southpaw?
I don't know though, because he's obviously fighting a southpaw, but he's made a decision to fight that because he likes his lead punch being his most with his most powerful hand, right?
Exactly. His straight left hand.
He busts you up.
Brutal, but man.
If he finishes, he often switches when he's finishing.
Yeah, that straight left and that southpaw stance is fucking beautiful, man. He's that's just how good he is, man. The fact that we're having this discussion as to how to classify him as a fighter. I think I remember when Crawford was coming up earlier in his career. At least I was. I don't know if you guys were critical of him, but I actually was critical of him because he switched to southpaw too much in my opinion. Yeah, and even that too. Like against Postol, he was too defensive.
No, but even against Burns, too defensive. Didn't take any risks.
That one in particular, against Burns.
But I don't have any problem with that because I think he was, he's been
extra cautious.
He's got to where he got to.
Yeah.
He's got to where he's got to by doing that. So
yeah, I didn't mind that because obviously Beltran went there and got robbed, and I think he was just being extra cautious.
But it does prove that we've seen him fight in multiple styles in different parts of his career. When he feels it's necessary, he'll choose to stink the place up or choose to go to war. Like, he will make that decision right in front of him. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he goes in with a strict game plan all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think Terrence didn't want the lights to come off cam, so he didn't want to pull off a Beltran. He's really fucking good. That's the biggest thing about it. And I hope he gets, some people, it's a tough situation he's in, so I just hope he gets the fights. I hope we get the fights.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
that's my
I could see the fights not taking place at all, guys. Because all the other belt holders at 47 are all Al Heyman fighter.
Well, that's what I was saying to you over the weekend, Lim. Like, my biggest problem with Crawford is he hasn't got the resume to, kind of displays, his right for, up for pound. Like, you look down it and like, Leon, what would you say is his best win? Maybe like Gamboa or Postal?
I'm not going to do it with him because sometimes he's an eye test fighter to me. Like,
sure,
we flip flop around, don't we, as boxing fans on these certain things. I just got to be honest. I don't care about his resume because I see him and I think he's that good. And I hope the resume comes.
But even I kind of disagree with you though, because like fights when you think he should kind of turn the screw a bit, he doesn't. Like against Felix Diaz, I thought he should have just kind of maybe just went in there and finished him instead of like he did stop him eventually in the 10th, but when he was like knocking him on the head and messing about and shit, like I think he could have stopped it. He could have stopped him at 5.
I'm not saying I'm right about this, Cam. It's just how I view him. Like, I just think it's just from different fighter to fighter. But yeah, there are obvious flaws in his resume. It's not good enough. So that's a frustration. But he's really good.
Lim's point is right though. Is all the dudes are on the other side of the street, man.
Oh, they all are, man. It could go horrible. It could go worse than like how Triple G's shit's looking. Like you'll get to it's there. They're both in a similar. Like he's a couple of years behind, but it's a similar shit, right? The criticism hasn't come yet, but it will do.
And it's so crazy to say that. It's so crazy for us to say that his resume is shit because it is, but at the same time, he did what Triple G didn't do. He unified 140. He cleared that division out.
Yeah,
but
bro,
doesn't have
man.
a good name on his resume.
Yeah, but
outside
bro,
of Postal.
He unified against one of the...
That's my point. That's my point exactly. That's not his fault.
No, that's fair, but like if Triple G would have had someone like Julius Ndongo holding 2 belts in that division,
oh yeah, of course,
he would have become undisputed as well.
No, I know. That's my point. Like I'm just saying, I'm not criticizing either fighter or saying anything about them. I'm just saying that that's the circumstance that he's in, and he still doesn't really have a good name, and he's essentially cleared out 2 weight divisions.
They're both going to end up with the same asterisk. Is that what I think we're saying? That's the potential, and it's a real fucking shame.
Yeah, I guess so. But to me, the difference is that Triple G's at least had 2 opportunities against guys like Canelo and Jacobs, whereas Terrence had. So
still time though.
And I'm sure, like I don't know why, but the whole Golovkin thing is a headache that we'll probably discuss later. But Terrence is still fairly young. I think he's 30 years old right now, so he still has, I'd say, 3. Like I know Leon mentioned this earlier in terms of us asking too much from fighters, but I think Terrence is the exception where we expect him to be.
I know when you're that good, I think it's like the level of fighter. When you're that good, we should expect it from you.
Yeah.
When you're Matthysse, maybe we should cut you some slack.
Sure. Yeah. The rat tail was the motive behind all of his powers. But
exactly. It's gone.
Terrence doesn't need any of those, appearances. He's just a bad motherfucker.
All right. Anything else regarding Terrence?
Mm-mm.
Same night.
No, just him versus Spence is a dream matchup for me. Like that's my most salivated fight.
I saw some quotes from Spence though, man, which kind of scared me. It was like, yeah, that fight just needs a bit of like marinating. It'll be a really big fight in a couple of years. I thought, oh no, don't do that to us, man. We don't need that in a couple of years.
We never get that fight. I don't think.
I think we get it, but it'll probably be a bit late or some shine will have come off. One of them will maybe
see that
pick up a
fight
loss.
never taking place, man, because Errol, I don't see Errol at 147 for like past 2 to 3 years. He's a big ass kid. And when that fight actually is potentially going to be made, I feel like Errol's going to move up to 154.
Could you see Terrence sticking around 47 for a good couple of years, or do you think, he will eventually, fill out a bit more and go to 54?
I don't see it. I mean, he's 30 years old. I think 47 is kind of at the top level. I think he's good enough where he can move to 154, kind of like Floyd did against, Canelo and whatnot. But I think 154 is really pushing it.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine him versus Charlo or Hurd. That'd be kind of comical in terms of the size difference.
Yeah, when it comes to size, but we all know, man, like, size isn't always the big factor, so.
Is that what she said?
Same night, Lim, okay. Across in Los Angeles was, rematch between Leo and Abner, and on the undercard we had Jamel versus Austin Trout. I only managed to watch the two fights today, so I've got some questions regarding Jamel's performance, Lim.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. I was kind of disappointed. I thought he was kind of wild. He headhunted it a bit too much. He missed quite a lot on, Trout can make you miss. Defensively, he's quite decent, but I expected a bit more from Jamel. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I dick ride the Charlo brothers because I love their kind of demeanor, but they're very flawed fighters. Like I always said that I would pick Canelo over Jamel and Jamal. Like I think they're very flawed fighters, and Jamal especially. You could have made the case that he drew against Trout in their fight, and even though Jamal beat Trout, it was still a very ugly fight to watch. And you're right, he headhunts way too much. He doesn't invest in the body whatsoever, and they're fun guys, but they're very beatable. So. I think people need to kind of slow down in terms of like how they rate them as fighters. And it's kind of funny. It just shows you how casual.
It's you that are doing that.
No, I know because I'm trolling, dude. Like I love these guys. Like, these guys are going to double head at Houston in Texas. So I'm going to go to that fight and I'm going to wear my Lions on the gear. But, they're flawed fighters, man. I never said that they were like amazing pound for pound level fighters at all. And I think with Jamal too, like people, they're so quick to kind of forget about his performances. Like he really hasn't done anything at 160, and people are already kind of hailing him as a takeover for that weight class. And it's not the case. Like I need to see them against higher level opposition. And that's why I want to see Jamel versus Hurd, because I think that's just a really fascinating matchup.
This homecoming card with both brothers on, do you see him fighting anyone half decent?
No,
absolutely not.
After that,
Hurd is out. Not only because of how they look, but just because of the situation right now. Hurd has a shoulder injury that he's nursing. Danny Jacobs is fighting Derevchenko. Obviously, Canelo's fighting Triple G, and Jamie Munguia is making his first title defense against Liam Smith. So who do they have left to fight?
Yeah, just another bum.
Yeah.
Do you manage to see this fight?
I like the idea though. Putting them in Houston. They should have done that a long time ago.
At least they're doing it now though. Obviously they put Spence at home as well when he fought, so at least PBC is starting to use their brains a bit. But Leon, did you manage to see this?
Yeah, I saw his fight.
What did you think?
Not good enough. Right. He wasn't very good. It was like very wild, like you said, and I'm not impressed with their shtick. So, like that kind of performance is not going to endear me.
The funny thing is, I'm a kind of a Trout fanboy, and I thought Trout was pretty shit, and he still managed to do decent, man. So it's like,
Trout was poor as well.
Yeah, he was slow, like his feet were kind of shot, and he was pretty poor, Trout. And the judge that gave that a draw, that amazed me, man, because Trout had spouts in the fight where he did okay, but for him to get a draw after one legit knockdown and one questionable knockdown because of behind the head, but if those knockdowns are counted legit, which they should be, because the ref called them as a knockdown, so the judges should class them as a knockdown. And how do you give it 113? That boggled the mind.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 7 rounds to Trout. I don't see that.
It was a funny fight because you could have almost given every round to Charlo, but no one was impressed.
I was surprised
I'm not
how
saying
quick
you did, but like you could give him a lot of rounds and it wasn't great.
I was surprised how quick the crowd started booing. I think they started booing in like the second minute of the first round or some shit. It was crazy, man. The impatient motherfuckers in there.
They were impatient, and usually you don't justify that kind of behaviour, but they were right.
Nah, I don't think they were. I think there's a bit harsh because at least Jamel was trying to double jab, throw the right hand, but it was Austin that was very negative, and he had that kind of classic up-down defense where he's going up and down, but at least Jamel was aggressive and he was trying to throw heavy punches, man. But the crowd, British crowd would never do that, man. I don't want to kind of like divide us and shit, but like, a British crowd wouldn't boo like in the 6th round of a boring ass fight, man. They'd at least wait till like the 9th round or some shit.
A British crowd would be in the toilet
sniffing
lines, they just fight
or beating shit out of each other.
Yeah,
exactly. Like that true. Manchester crowd.
Yeah, exactly. They'd either be fighting or doing drugs.
That is true. But anything else regarding Jamel and Austin?
That is fucking class, man. We gotta talk Tyson Fury crowd interactions, man. That was awesome.
But the main event, Leo versus Matthysse, a fight we didn't need. We had it, and I didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch
it either.
All right. To me, like the first fight that was raved about just because they threw so much. I think both guys threw like over 1,000 punches, and the problem is like a lot of them are hitting arms and gloves. Like there were not many punches in the rematch were clean. It just looked more furious than it was. Like you just see them both like throwing loads of punches in the pocket, but not much is landing. So to me, it wasn't that exciting. I think Abner got a good start. He got the first 2 rounds for me, but then Leo kind of took over up until maybe the 7th or 8th, and Matthysse came back a bit and started trying to sit in the pocket a bit more. But I was impressed with the way Leo, he was at distance, but he was always still in range to kind of let his shots off. But anytime Abner would kind of come in, he didn't really use his jab to come in. He'd just kind of rush him and step in to come into the pocket, and Leo mostly picked him off. But it was an okay fight. It's just one of those fights that people rave about it, but it wasn't really as good as it actually was. So that's about it for me. Same night in Manchester, we had Tyson Fury in the pantomime against some fucking terribly small dude. I don't even want to talk about that. That was just absolutely fucking joke. It's professional boxing and they were having a fucking laugh and a joke in there. It was shocking.
Yeah, I don't want to, but was it the weigh-in where Tyson Fury picked him up
yeah.
like a baby?
Yeah. But bro, you need to watch the fight, man. It was a fucking joke.
Oh god.
But Leon, did you watch it?
That was a diabolical card, wasn't it?
Yeah, Flanagan Hooker. I was a bit, excuse me, a bit disappointed with Flanagan.
Very disappointed.
Yeah, he just lacked kind of ambition to kind of get close and let shots off. He was just kind of happy to kind of be at distance but not really working. And I don't really rate Maurice Hooker. He's nothing special, but Flanagan couldn't really just get in there and work. It was crazy, man. Really disappointed.
Like, I'd rather he just got disqualified for using his head like he's done in all his previous fights. Do you know? Just do something.
Yeah, man.
Anything.
Just get thrown out.
Just put it on the line. Like, it didn't seem to matter to him.
Crazy, man. But regarding Hooker, I read that he might be signing with Eddie Hearn for the DAZN deal, so you might be seeing him soon in the States fighting on the Matchroom USA. But
bringing the fire, bringing the heat.
Yep. Alright, June 16th we had Errol Spence versus Carlos Ocampo, Lim. Pretty funny, man. Like, the commentary team of Showtime were kind of giving Ocampo a bit of props for not, like, looking nervous and shit in the first round, and he gets hit with a couple body shots and iced. Finished. Over.
But was that the IBF mandatory again, Cam?
That was the mandatory.
They love a mandatory, but they're never good enough.
It's weird, man. I don't know where they get these guys, you know.
Pointless. He's got it done, so hopefully he doesn't have to have another mandatory for a while, but a complete waste of time.
I just hope he gets a good fight soon, man. Like, I want to see Spence in with
anyone
decent.
Like, he's got enough people there to be fighting someone. I mean, what the fuck Furman's doing, but I mean, I just don't know.
Anything on Spence, or should we move on?
I guess props to him for selling out the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely is trying to get, like we were talking about PBC, get people fighting in the hometowns. And I think trying to get him affiliated with the Cowboys, him wanting to be a Cowboy football player when he was young, and I think I think the owner was in the crowd. I think he came into the ring as well. So, yeah. At least they're trying to get those relationships going. They do over here in the States, you know, if in the UK, where if a footballer sports a different team, they're always trying to get him affiliated with him, so get some of those extra supporters in the crowd. But yeah.
Yeah, why hasn't Keith Thurman been stripped of his other belt?
Well, I think they gave him a pass because of injuries. That's why basically Lucas got a chance to fight for that regular title. And then when Thurman was supposed to come back, he was supposed to fight, you know, whoever owned that title. But obviously Manny's got that now, so I don't know what's going to happen.
But what is Thurman doing? Like, what's the last we've heard of him?
Last he was supposed to fight Spence, I think, but he's still a bit injured. So as soon as he gets fit, he's supposed to fight not Spence, sorry, Sean Porter. But again, like we've seen that before. I'd rather see a fresh fight. The first fight was really good, but like, come on, let's see something else.
My head hurts right now, just trying to wrap my head around Keith Thurman and whatever the fuck he's doing.
Has that been one of the biggest disappointments of the last couple of years?
Yeah.
I think so.
This is the clown who said blow money or whatever he said.
Burn money, man. Burn money. Knockouts, KOs for life, man.
I'm sorry. Yeah, blow money doesn't make any sense at all, but again, just burn money to what he is right now. It's really laughable to say the least.
Yeah. Alright.
So, terrible, man.
Let's move on. June 23rd, we also had Victor Postol versus Josh Taylor in Scotland. Do you see this, Leon?
Yeah. It was really very good fight. I really enjoyed it. Ups and downs. I thought Postal was doing fantastically in large parts of that fight, and like I thought it was very, very close. Really, personally,
I had it very close.
He hurt Taylor. Legitimately hurt him.
Yep.
But vice versa. Like they both hurt each other, and Taylor did well. Well, he didn't. The problem is, like, he did really well to win it, but the scorecards just spoil that thing because his hard work to win it wasn't recognised, and Postal's work to nearly win it wasn't recognised. Like, it's just fucked, isn't it? Completely fucked.
Yeah, I'll openly admit I just had Postal nicking it. It was very close.
Very close.
Just the times when Postal actually just used his jab and used his 1-2s. Josh kind of looked clueless of how to get on the inside. It's like he didn't know. It's only when Postal stopped doing that where Josh could easily get on the inside and work. But very competitive fight, pretty fun fight. And I think there's definitely stuff where Josh needs to work on. But I'd love to see Postal maybe trying to get into the Super Series at 140, because I think he'd definitely have a shot in there. Obviously, Josh has gone into it as well. So they may...
Well, on that performance, he has to be in it, doesn't he?
Who, Postal or Josh?
Josh is in it, but Postal from that performance deserves to be in the mix, because he could beat some of those guys.
100%, and I think, yeah, if they put them on the opposite sides of the draw so they don't meet each other until maybe the final, then, yeah, man, like, I think he deserves it, and I think he'd probably be a big shot to fucking win it, to be honest. The questions about his age, there were questions about his age and whether he still got it, but from his performance that night, I think he's definitely still got it. It's just
How
like
old
he said.
is he?
It's just like he said, Leon. The scorecards really just tarnished that fight. To answer your question, Liam, he's 34.
Wow.
He hasn't fought a lot.
No.
It's crazy that he makes a weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a good atmosphere, a good fight, and it should have been.
The thing is,
it was close enough for a rematch, really.
The thing is, Leon, it's one of those fights where you don't mind if there's one crazy ass card, but when all three cards are crazy, if there's a 115, 113 fight kind of card. I know there was a knockdown, so it'd probably be 112 or something, but you won't mind it. But when all three are so wide, it's like they writ out the cards before the fight even happened, man. It's just a shame.
Didn't one person give him almost every round? Taylor almost every round.
Yep, Eddie Papo gave him 119, 108. Crazy.
That's one of the worst scorecards in years.
Yeah, there were a couple rounds where Postal dominated, so how you could only give him, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, madness.
But did you see this fight, Lim?
No, I didn't, because Kimo told me the fight was shit. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I was weird when Kimo was on this rampage about how bad that fight was, and I don't know what he was going on about.
I was going to watch it, and I was downloading it on my computer, but then he just deleted it. So I wasn't able to watch it.
Oh yeah, were you guys together in Japan at this time?
Yeah.
Can't believe it deleted it from your computer, man.
I know, man. It was downloading. It was 70% done, and he just canceled it.
That's a bitch move from Kimo, man.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's about it for fights that happened since the last show. So, any news and stuff you guys want to cover?
Yeah. Is that all?
Sorry?
That's enough, isn't it?
I'm trying to think.
It's the better stuff.
There have to have been more fights.
No, it's the better stuff. Obviously, I avoided some shit. You don't want to talk about Clarence Shields or Billy Joe Saunders pulling out against Martin Murray, fighting a welterweight. You don't want to talk about that.
Ritson was good. Cam Ritson was quite good. I'll just say that. We don't talk about his fights.
Yeah,
He's fun.
I like Ritson, man. He's fun. Josh Kelly, I don't know, man. I got my doubts about Josh Kelly, man. He was getting hit. He was getting hit quite a lot in that fight in the Northeast.
Yeah. Now, do you know if that Coley Haskins fight has been signed yet? Because they were talking about signing that.
The Matty Haskins fight.
Yeah, versus Coley.
I think there was something on boxing scene about it today.
Yeah, if that gets signed, that's a good fight,
Yeah, it is actually a good fight. Matty Haskins.
Good little fight. Yeah,
he's pretty good fighter.
Didn't Chamberlain fight recently too?
Don't know.
No one cares about Chamberlain after he lost to
Coley. From now on, whenever either Coley or Chamberlain fights, I'm always going to connect them with one another. They're like Lord Voldemort and Harry Potter.
No Harry Potter references, bro.
Don't get them. Don't know what you're talking about.
Same, man.
Man, you're not a Harry Potter fan either, Leon?
No, because I'm a grown-ass adult.
Fair enough. Point well taken.
Same here, Leon. I've never watched a Harry Potter
Exactly,
film.
we're old fucks, man. What were we saying?
Okay, that's pretty much it.
No, well, that was the one bit of news, Cam, and then what else is there to talk about? What else has happened?
Well, we're not talking about fucking contract negotiations, because that shit is boring to me. The last 2 months, the back and forth about Wilder and Joshua and fucking Eddie Hearn, and then we get stuff from Canelo and Triple G still kind of going on. Just annoying, man.
We have to talk about Wilder versus AJ negotiations. I mean, the reason why TBC, the Boxing Coalition, started was because of the Boxing Voice. And the Boxing Voice has been talking about that negotiation saga every single day for the past 2 months. So we got to spend at least an hour on it, right?
I'll give you 1 minute, bro. Go.
No, I don't know. I like the Povetkin fight, actually. I think AJ versus Povetkin's a pretty decent fight, so I'm not too mad at it.
I just think it's convenient just to milk the public of one big event before he actually fights Wilder.
It was always going to happen, Cam, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think as proper boxing fans knew he wasn't going to fight Wilder next, but all the casual just got caught up into it.
madness. Like, it's just people arguing over things that just posturing and just nonsense. It's just a complete and utter waste of time. I don't know why anyone would want to engage in it.
Yeah.
And then, like, as for his $1 billion TV deal, again, like, why is that up for discussion until he gives you the first fight? Like, that's all that matters. Exactly. But the interesting thing, if he does do that thing in America, Cam, and they're going to, part of their package is getting some of the Sky fights, like, that's not good. Like, Hearn will get found out very quickly by the American public if he's serving up some of those shitty Sky cards on there.
I agree, but if it's kind of stuff where they don't expect of high quality anyway, if his American cards are good, then I think he'll get a pass. But
that's all I've got to say on that matter, because I don't really give a shit about that stuff until the fights are signed. Like,
no, it's fine. The only thing is
the wilder stuff is just fucking both comical bullshit, really, isn't it?
Well, it's fine. I just wanted your opinion on. Obviously, there's rumours about who he signed for DAZN, talking about Boo Boo signed with him, Boo Boo Andrade and Maurice Hooker. But I don't know. It just seems like when he's tried to go out and get these names, like, he struggled to sign anyone big, in my opinion. Yeah, maybe when they had the press conference, he's managed to hide some of the bigger names that he signed. But so far, it seems to be a bit of a flop.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like I said, like these Al Heyman fighters, I predicted that they would be reluctant to sign with him, and I mean they still might. I don't know, but it seems like, you know, the Charlo brothers and Broner and Mikey Garcia, a lot of these guys are pretty reluctant to sign with Hearn just because that DAZN is such an unknown commodity at this point. And whenever the name of your company or your media company is DAZN and you expect people to pronounce it as DAZN, like, you have to be retarded. So I don't really blame them either. I mean, DAZN, like, what the fuck is that? Even your cats think that's a shit name, Leon.
No, sorry about him.
No, it's okay. I love cats, man. So,
but
don't mind one bit.
I think there was rumours going around that he might have signed a Charlo.
Yeah, and I was just typing in Maurice Hooker, and Maurice Hooker just got arrested for drunken driving and handgun possession 4 days ago. So
that's not a good look, is it?
Start. Nope.
Oh well. Any other news you guys want to talk about?
I wouldn't be surprised if they signed the Charlos, just because that doubleheader in Houston, that's something that Eddie Hearn would do. So, I mean, I hope Hearn signed both of them. That'd be pretty awesome. I mean, shit, can you imagine if he signed the Charlos, Boo Boo, and Danny Jacob? That'd be incredible.
That's if they fight each other, though.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of good fighters before that don't fight each other. But anything else you guys want to talk about?
I can't think of any other news at the moment.
You got anything, Liam?
I mean, I guess the Canelo Triple G rematch, right?
What do you actually want to talk about, though? Like, we talked on the weekend, you and I, Liam, and that's one of those fights for me that I'm only going to get hyped like 2 weeks before it, man. Like, at the moment, it's just, there's nothing for me to talk about.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, guys. I mean, there had to have been some news in the past 2 months, right?
I don't think there has been, you know.
There's probably
I mean, we got that White Parker shit coming up at the end of the month. I mean,
that's
the card's half decent, but I mean,
that's a little rant for me actually. Like, why the fuck is Dillian White on pay-per-view, man?
It's more like, how is Parker like a good enough opponent to justify being a pay-per-view? You know what I mean? Like, it's both of them. Neither of them deserve to be there.
Yeah,
and they're not good enough to justify. Like, they shouldn't be getting paid that much money.
I do hope Parker ices him, though, man.
I think he will, you know.
Fingers crossed.
I think he stops him.
But yeah, and another little rant, Leon. I don't know if you still got your Box Nation subscription.
No.
But maybe they did put out a statement in an email that got hidden under some privacy emails. But basically, Queensberry no longer have a relationship with Box Nation. They have a sole exclusive relationship with BT Sport, which to me is some fucking bullshit, because if you've paid for Box Nation, you know, for your kind of British and the American cards, now you have to also have BT Sport, then you also have to have Sky to watch Matchroom, then you gotta fucking probably miss some fights as well, because they don't always pick up some fights. It was crazy that Sky had the Adonis Steven versus Badu Jack fight, but they didn't manage to somehow get the deal of having Jojo Diaz versus Gary Russell on the same night. It's like, well, you might as well just trying to get a double deal so you get both of the big fights. Like, they were showing fucking some shitty Canadian undercard fights when Jojo was fighting, when Jojo was fighting, Gary Russell. It's crazy, man.
Because Sky, deep down, don't give a shit about international boxing. They don't. They really only want that. They want international fights if they can tie a story to it, or if they need to fill up a date, because I guess those international fights count as a date. So I'm not surprised they didn't pay for both, because they don't give a shit, really.
You think Box Nation will go under in the next couple, maybe next year or so? Or
just get kind of sucked up or something. Yes, it will kind of cease trading somehow.
Because the fact that they've signed like little deals with MTK and Broadway Boxing, like no one really cares about that stuff. Yes, the international content, if they pick up the big cards, is good. But now that Box Nation don't have the UK Warren cards, it makes little sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's all quite interesting to see what happens with MTK, because their power with fighters might start outweighing the power of the promoter with the TV deal, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Because while everyone else has been fighting about TV deals, they've just been amassing fighters, haven't they? So sooner or later, like, everyone's gonna have to go through them. Like, it's quite an interesting move to see what they do, because their stable is huge now.
It is, but
it's not great.
There's not many stars. Like, they've got a lot of fighters, but only a handful of stars.
No, but they will start to own all the undercards, all the, you know what I mean? They'll just, because they've got so many fighters.
Just monopolize that shit.
Yeah. Just with weight of fighter, that they just have more and more say. But I mean, it's quite interesting to see what they do. But I mean, I think, yeah, going back to Box Nation, I think it's gone in 18 months, and we'll lose all those international fights because BT won't pick them up. No, we'll have to get them how we get them now. Yeah. I used to I thought Box Nation for 3 or 4 years there was fantastic value for money, but not anymore, so I stopped it.
Yeah, same here. Like, I had a problem with one of my cards which expired, and I forgot to
same here, yeah. I just fucked it off.
Yeah, I didn't bother to change it over, because we're not getting the content anymore. Like, yeah, they had money, but I found a way how to get ESPN Plus in the UK. If you sign up with a VPN, you can manage to get it. But even that, it doesn't really work perfectly. You can't always watch some of the on-demand shit. So I did it under the 7-day free trial, but I might just cancel it because it's not really worth it. Because it's not. I can't Chromecast it to the TV because I think the Chromecast figures out that I'm in the UK and I'm not in the States.
Yeah, it does.
So it kind of blocks it. So yeah, it's not ideal.
But we used to get like 3 or 4 good Russian cards a year, maybe an odd German one, like all that stuff. That's all gone. We used to get cards on a Wednesday afternoon, sometimes, from Russia and all that stuff. Stuff
from
ceased,
like China and Japan and stuff as well, and Saturday mornings and shit.
It used to be fantastic, but now we're struggling to get the American fights.
Yeah.
So they're not putting any money into it, are they?
No.
That's why they're getting deals with MTK, because MTK probably said, well, we'll pay for all the production. You don't have to worry about anything. Don't give us anything for. They're probably not even selling the rights to Box Nation. They're probably just giving it to them for free and say, well, we can put our fighters on that channel for free for the next year or so until it dies. So they're probably spending nothing on it.
Yeah. True shame.
I feel like such a third wheel right now.
So good, bro.
You're in the best position, mate. You're in the best position.
Have you guys ever heard of Pierre Bernard's Recliner of Rage?
No, I have not.
Okay, my apologies. No, but I have one piece of news. Devin Alexander versus Andre Berto on the Garcia East undercard. Are you guys interested about that at all?
That's not on the undercard, is it not on a different event?
No, it's on the card. And then Fabian Maidana versus Andre Klimov, which is actually a pretty decent scrap, is on that card as well.
But you know what? Compared to British fighting, I don't have a problem with that fight because if Hearn had those two guys, he wouldn't let them fight. So at least they're fighting, doing something.
Yeah.
I probably would watch that just for the weirdness of it.
No, Lim, you're wrong. That's on Saturday, 4th of August, Lim.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going through boxing articles right now, but I don't know, maybe they're wrong. Or what about, is O'Hara Davies versus Jack Catterall, is that on?
You're really grasping at straws, aren't you?
I'm trying to sustain this dialogue, guys. I'm really just going through every single article.
No, we got we got some previews to do, man. That'll kill half an hour, man. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Alright. Go for it then.
Alright. This Saturday we have the final of the World Boxing Super Series Cruiserweights. Leon, I was just talking to Lim before we started recording the show, then for how good the World Boxing Super Series has been, it's a shame how the final has been so mishandled. Would you agree?
It's a shame, but I don't care. Really, I've heard a lot of podcasts and stuff while we haven't been doing ours, being really kind of whiny and moaning about how the final and they've lost, people are losing,
interest.
Losing the buzz and interest for the fight. It's really, that's your problem? I don't care about the buzz and other people. That fight's so good. I'm buying that. That's the only pay-per-view fight I've bought in a long, long time, but I'm definitely buying it because they deserve my money. Do you know what I mean? Those guys, I'm happy for them to have my money.
Well,
I don't really have a.
I'm shocked you're
it
buying
hasn't
it.
been handled great, but I don't care.
I'm shocked you're buying it, so props for you. But I want to ask you the question: it was in the UK. Do you think they should have just given us that for free?
Of course they do. They should. But Usyk is going to Russia again, going abroad again to fight a fucking man made of marble. It's such a good fight that I'm just not going to let all that other shit cloud it. It's too good.
All right, for the fight
itself. It'll be shit now, won't it?
Yeah, you just jinxed the shit out of it. But for the fight itself, how do you see it playing out?
I'm picking Gassiev. I just think there's something kind of the relentlessness of him. It wasn't Usyk hasn't been getting hit and stuff in in some of his fights. I think it'll be very, very close, but I think Gassiev will do enough damage, as the fight goes on, to win it.
I think your cat agrees.
He's a nightmare, this fucking thing.
But Lim, what do you think? How do you see the fight playing out, and who are you picking?
I'm picking Usyk, but I'm rooting for Gassiev.
I'm the same.
I think it's pretty amazing how good Gassiev is, considering his age and his lack of amateur experience. So, and I'm pretty shocked that this fight is pretty much even in terms of the betting odds. I thought Usyk would be a lot heavier of a favorite, but I guess not.
I think what Gassiev did
against Rodriguez. I
think what he did there. I think what he did in the semi-final changed it.
Yeah.
I think both semi-finals changed it because I think a lot of people, including myself, were disappointed how Usyk fought against Bradis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even though he was good that night, there was just things. He took time off and let some rounds go that he shouldn't have gone. Everyone performed very, very well in those semis, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a damn
Cam, I
fight,
need to
man.
ask you. I need to ask you a question though, Cam. I know you like to overanalyze these pre-fight build-up shows. How do you assess Usyk letting go of his former trainer and deciding to have Russ Amber, his cut man, become his trainer?
I did
What's your take?
actually want to get into this, so it's a good segue. But before I get into it, just what Lim is referring to, the World Boxing Super Series put out one of these teaser shows, the pre-fight. It's on their YouTube channel, so go check that out. I did put a tweet out in case you can't find the link, but yeah, it's definitely worth watch. But yeah, Lim, it is interesting. He looked quite critical of his own performance when he was talking about it on the show. The fact that I think he's changed it multiple times now. I think he had a trainer last year and then switched to Lomachenko's dad, and then when I tried to kind of Google why he left Lomachenko's dad, nothing really came up. And then he was talking about his former trainer, who he was working with, Russ Anber, and saying how they didn't really, so Russ Anber is, I think, his current trainer, but the trainer before that, he was, saying that why they don't really, they weren't clicking, that he wasn't really learning from him and stuff. So yeah, surprising. I think he's gonna be one of those dudes that is never really happy with his tuition, and he's always gonna be chopping and changing trainers. The fight, however, I think it's gonna be, it's difficult because I was gushing over Gassiev's performance against Dorticus, but I did rewatch Gassiev versus Lebedev, and he did struggle a lot, man, with a guy that was on his back foot and is also a southpaw. And I think it's interesting because at the end of that show, Abel Sanchez and Gassiev were sitting down watching the Usyk fight against Bradis, and a number of times Sanchez was pointing out that they don't think he's going to fight that way against Gassiev. They're going to think he's going to be more defensive, more on the back foot. And I absolutely agree. I think Gassiev's going to have to, force the action, kind of chase him down. And the problem is, like, he didn't really deal with Lebedev's southpaw jab and southpaw right hook very well. So that's why I'm kind of worried for Gassiev. That's why I'm picking Usyk, but I could see it kind of going wide for Usyk as well if he's on his A game. If he fights the style or doesn't fight as well as he can do, then it could be a closer fight. But I'm picking Usyk. But you were going to say something, Leon?
But what happens if Gassiev did what he kind of did early on against the Cuban guy, where he chose not to engage quite as much and stood off a little bit? Like, could he kind of try and lure Usyk into it, or is Usyk going to be so unwilling to engage? Like, I don't think that's the case. So it'd be interesting to see, because he was on the back foot a bit in those early rounds against that Cuban guy. It'd be interesting to see if he can try and bring Usyk out of his shell by not engaging as much as well.
Yeah, it was interesting, that Dorticus fight, because I don't know if that was part of the tactics to let Dorticus come out and just kind of gas himself out, but it ended up working out that way, and then he kind of took over the fight. So yeah, I'm not sure. But
I like that. I like what he did in that fight, like how he chose to let him come onto him. But I mean, it's easier said than done, because Usyk's going to do what he wants to do as well. But it's just, there's more ways for Gassiev to win this fight. That's what I took away from that semi-final.
I can't wait though, man. I
can't wait.
I'm not paying for it. Fuck that. But can I come to your house, Leo?
It's a long drive. That's a lot more
fuel than actually just paying for the pay-per-view.
Exactly. Pay for it.
No,
because I put out a tweet complaining about this being pay-per-view, and people came back and said, yeah, but it's such a good fight. And then the more I've thought about it, and the build-up to it, it's just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I've stolen so much boxing over the years.
You might as well pay back when it's worth it.
Put one back in, you know.
That's fair. But and Lim, I was only joking. I won't actually go to his house to watch boxing. Come on, bro.
I know you're just a little bit, you're pretty daft, you know, so I wouldn't put it past you. But, how much is it? How much is the pay-per-view card, by the way?
Cam, how much is it?
I don't know. I'll have to Google it.
I think it's £10.
That's not too bad. I thought it was 20. If it's £10, then it's worth it.
£10, that's like $7.
Yeah, that's worth it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's 10, 11.
I'll do
That's
it for
why
that
I'm willing
much.
to do it. If it was 20, I wouldn't pay for it.
Yeah, I won't.
I think
pay
it's
for it.
tenner.
Yeah, $9.95. That's not bad.
That's fine. I haven't, yeah.
So I've been HD,
You know what,
yeah.
It's a single figure.
The
Pay a
undercard's,
single figure.
yeah, the undercard's okay as well, so it's worth £10.
It's worth £10.
Yeah.
This is what I mean, and this is, they can justify it. It's all the marble, it's everything, isn't it? Like, this is, and that's the price. If we could get to a place where we're paying smaller amounts and getting these cards, I think more people would buy it, you know. Well, it seems pretty fucking obvious thing. Fucking hot take that, wasn't it? Jesus. Sorry.
Lim, do you have any thoughts on how the fight would play out? Or?
No, I don't. I'm just really excited for it. It's a great fucking fight, and I can't wait.
Nice.
And this is coming from a person who's never been, you know, the biggest fan of cruiserweights, but I'm really, really hyped for this fight.
It's good to hear, man. It's good to hear. Same night on HBO in Las Vegas at the Hard Rock. You could go to this, Lim, as well. Have a day out in Vegas. Jamie Munguia versus Liam Smith.
Nah, I'm kind of done with Vegas, man.
Come on, bro. It's at the Hard Rock. We stay there. Memories of me.
Yeah, that is true. There's just too much filth in Las Vegas, you know. I'm just gonna go to school soon, and I don't want to go back into that part of my life. So
there's only filth if you seek out filth. If you don't seek it out, then there's no filth, bro.
That's fair. That's a really weird place for the fight to be taking place.
Why?
Just because, I mean, the fight in and of itself is strange. Just Munguia versus Smith. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm picking Munguia. I like him. He's a big boy.
Me too. Leon, you think classic Joe Gallagher, high guard? Hopefully the guy will.
I might have to go to the Hard Rock just to see Joe Gallagher in person. Like so far, the bummiest person affiliated to boxing I've ever seen in my life is Abel Sanchez. Like I saw him firsthand with his polo, you know, tucked into his jean shorts and his belt. But I think Joel Gallagher might be able to top that. So
easy, bro. You have to do it. Get a selfie with him as well.
Listen.
But Leon, what do you think?
Sorry, yeah. Munguia is just too big, isn't he? Like, he does everything better than Smith as far as I can see. I saw the previous fight and then watched a few others going back, and he beats Smith easy, I think.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
If he high guards it, he'll get battered.
Yeah, he'll just go to the body and beat him down. Like they're gonna have watched the Canelo fight, so they're gonna know that Smith's a bit weak to the body. And Munguia just seems so heavy-handed against Saddam Ali, and everything he landed on Ali affected him, and he took some shots off Ali, and he seemed to take them well as well, so his chin seems quite decent. I know Smith's not the biggest of punchers, so I can't really see any way Smith's gonna win, unless he kinda does the tactic he used against Liam Williams in the second fight, and maybe trying to fight on his back foot, but that's the only thing I can see.
But honestly, like, an aggressive come-forward fighter, like, those Gallagher fighters, they're fucking made for them, because they never throw with the fighter, do they?
Always
never.
wait. Yeah, they always wait.
Always wait. Never throw. So you can go, well, I can fucking rattle off if I rattle off a 4-punch combination, as long as I'm stepping out on the fourth one, no, you know, even then they're probably not going to throw straight away, so you can just fucking unload on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might batter him really quickly. He might stop him in like 4 or 5 rounds.
I could see that. Definitely.
Because I think he's a big enough puncher to split that guard as well. I mean, however fucking high it is, I think he's got enough on him to to hurt him, even if he's not landing cleanly, I think.
Especially if he throws, 3-4 combinations, break the guard with the second and then land some clean shots with the third and the fourth, so.
Yeah, I think. Now, watch this now as Smith wins a boring 12-round horrible stinker, but I think he'll get knocked out.
Yeah, I can't see that, but.
Nah.
Talking about Smith reminded me of the retirement of his brother, but we'll get back to that at the end of the show.
Yes.
What else have we got? Undercard has Alberto Machado finally fighting after he beat Jezreel Corrales. He's fighting Rafael Mensah. Mensah's Ghanaian undefeated, 31-0, 23 KOs, southpaw, but I can't really tell you much about him. It's good to see Machado, but the only thing is Machado, he was kind of losing every round against Corrales until he managed to hurt him and stop him, so I think he's going to be one of those dudes that doesn't have a title for that long, so we shall see. What else have we got? Daniel Lim's cousin, young Gil Bay, is fighting Rungvisai on the same night in a 10-rounder.
Who?
Your cousin, young Gil Bay.
Young Gil Bay?
That's his name, bro.
That sounds like a rapper. Like a SoundCloud rapper. Young Gil Bay?
SoundCloud rapper.
How do you spell that? Y-U-N-G?
Yep. G-I-L-B-A-E. Young Gil Bay.
Young. I tried looking that up in Google and all I get is Young Bong Gil.
He's a flyweight.
Who was a Chinese Korean independence activist.
Nah, this guy's
in the 1930s.
He's South Korean boxer, 5'5", he's got blonde hair.
Jeez Louise. I need to get on this train, man.
Yeah, bro.
Have you guys seen Young Gil Bay fight?
I did see him fight once, to be honest. I think he saw him fight Rexo. He got stopped in 4, but that's the only time I've seen him, I think.
Young Gil Bay.
You found him?
I did. It's so funny that his last name is Y-O-U-N-G, because mostly the Koreans, if your last name is Young, you spell it Y-U-N-G. So it's like they're taking the piss out of us. Like he's like a young, like that's honestly like how you would name a rapper in this current day and age. So I guess props to his managers for catching on to that wave, as I like to say. But I mean, he's 28-6, so he's gotten knocked out 5 times. I mean, how good can this guy possibly be?
I think Rungvisai is probably going to ice him in a couple rounds.
Yeah, it seems like it's a homecoming fight too, right?
Yeah, it's a non-title fight as well, which is interesting. It's only a 10-rounder, which
shit.
I never really
the
liked,
fight
to
is
be honest.
The fight is the 21st. I might go to this fight.
Oh, you're going to go to Thailand for it?
Well, I might go to Asia in a couple of days.
Again?
It's yeah. Jesus. I'm getting bored, man. University starting next month, and I just want to get it out all on the system. So.
Oh my god, man! You spend more time on the plane than anyone I know.
No, it's actually cheaper when I travel over there, though, because shit is so expensive here in the States. So, but anyways, just now with Rungvisai, he deserves a homecoming fight. So I'm not too mad at it. I just hope they actually get a pretty good name after this one.
Yeah.
The whole thing with him, already, he's not in his weight class anymore, huh? So that's not even a plausible matchup for quite some time. But I still would like to see the rematch though, against what's his name, Estrada.
You think so?
Yeah, I thought it was a really fantastic fight.
Yeah, it was. I just can't see Estrada beating him. So I'd rather just kind of see a fresh matchup. It's something we've not had so far. We've seen him fight Charlo twice.
Who else is it the Japanese dude that he can fight?
Which Japanese dude?
At 115?
No, he's gone up. Inoue.
No, not Inoue, the blonde guy.
Oh.
The one who was ringside, for that fight, and they were hyping him up as a potential opponent. I don't know if he's in the same
I can't remember.
I don't know who you
mean.
Who
else is in the weight class though? Like, if it's not Rungvisai. So we got Rungvisai, right? We got Estrada.
We got Kalyafai, I think, is at Superfly.
Uh-huh.
Let me just check. Superfly.
I do hope they can carry that momentum because, the two Superfly cards were pretty good, and it would be unfortunate if they can't maintain that,
Yep.
that excitement.
WBA, you got Kal Yafai. IBF is Jovan Ankas, and WBO's vacant at the moment with Donny Nietes and Austin Palitais in first and second.
Okay. Cool.
Alright.
All right.
Move on to July 28th, Mikey Garcia versus Robert Easter. What do you think, Lim? Lim, what do you think?
Oh, you asked me. This fight isn't bad, right? I mean, I'm glad that Mikey's unifying. But for some reason, it doesn't have that much of an appeal to me.
Yeah, it's lack something.
I'm obviously going to be excited when the fight is coming up, but I just think Easter has looked so shaky and so average. I thought he lost against Fortuna, and he just looked really, really average and basic. And I always had those kind of premonitions about Easter, but I think that's the first time I really knew that he's a really limited fighter.
Yeah, I echo everything you said basically. He looks shit against Fortuna. He doesn't use his attributes, like, he should fight at range. He doesn't. He fights on the inside with his big gangly arms and shit. It's just not a good look, and Mikey should kind of beat him quite convincingly, in my opinion. Leon?
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of Easter, but I would pick Mikey. But again, Mikey's, at least he's getting back on with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the best of the best, but he's a guy in that division, who's in and around belts. I don't know if he's got one at the moment or what, but he's in the mix. So yeah, as long as he keeps doing this, Mikey's doing fine,
Yeah, well, it's unification.
He's showing he's good.
It's the unification because Easter's got the IBF, so at least
yeah.
At least he's trying to unify.
Like I'm never mad at unification fights.
Exactly, whoever they are, like, we can criticize people for holding belt, like the Ndongo with Crawford, but like, what else could Crawford do, right? It's the same with Mikey's getting on with it. That's we said about Crawford is what we say the same thing about Mikey. As long as they're getting on with it, hopefully the fights will come. And I think Mikey's got more potential to get better fights than Crawford.
Yeah, but I do have to shit on Mikey as well because he seems pretty dead set on fighting Errol Spence in his next fight.
I'm down. Lunatic. No, he'll get battered.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
It's the same thing as Kelberg fighting Golovkin.
Yeah, exactly. He might look good. He might do some good stuff, but in the end,
sure,
done.
Yeah.
That can't be a real thing, can it?
I mean, I don't think so, because I think Mikey's a pretty intelligent person. So I think he's doing it for Instagram and whatever and whatnot, and trying to keep his name in the headlights. But at the same time, I mean, so many people, like so many really, very dumb fans commend and hail Mikey for shit like that because, he's a Mexican warrior. He'll do anything. It's like, no, I don't want to see those fights because there's so many good fights in and around his weight class. Why sacrifice his longevity for that?
Yeah. Crazy.
So, yeah, man. But, it's a good fight. I'm kind of disappointed with the whole Lomachenko situation because, like we just said, I wanted to see Lomachenko versus Beltran just because I wanted to have Loma with 2 belts and Mikey with 2 belts because I think it would have made it pretty much impossible for them not to fight. But, Loma has that shoulder injury, and I think Beltran is fighting somebody else, in August. So it's unfortunate, but, I'm not too mad at the Mikey fight at all. I think Mikey's a pound for pound level guy that people don't give too much attention to. So, I'm not mad at this at all.
Yeah, Ray's fighting Jose Pedraza, 25th of August in Glendale.
That's terrible, man. I mean, maybe I'm just being too critical of Pedraza, but the last time I remember him was against Gervonta.
Getting iced.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Yep. Alright, what else have we got? Same night as the Garcia fight in London, we mentioned earlier, Dillian White versus Joseph Parker. I haven't really got anything to add, Leon.
I've got nothing to add.
Kell Brooks was supposed to fight Brandon Cook, but according to Brandon Cook, Brooks pulled out with an ankle injury. They've not made an official statement, so we'll have to see what happens, but no one really cared anyway. Only problem was this was some type of eliminator. How the fuck is Brandon Cook got into an eliminator position? There you go. IBF.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
there you go.
Wait, his name is Brian Cook?
Brandon Cook. Actually, I don't know if it was IBF,
Brandon.
I'm not sure. It might have been WBC, but I'll Google it. Carlos Takam fighting Derek Chisora. No one cares. Best fight on the card though, Leon. Rematch Conor Ben versus Cedric Peinard.
Yeah, that could be good, but it'll probably be one of those things where, I don't think lightning's going to strike twice. Somehow Ben will get through it, because I just think he's just a bigger guy, and we don't know if that might be that kid's best ever fight. I don't know anything about him.
Fingers crossed he can pull it off and get the win this time.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right.
Sorry,
okay.
my cat.
No problem at all.
August 4th, Lemmy. Double header. Sergey Kovalev versus Elder Alvarez, and Dmitry Bivol versus Isaac Chalemba. What do you think?
I forgot who Isaac Chalemba is.
South African bald-head dude, kind of gives everyone a tough fight, mostly.
Didn't he get sparked by Sergey?
Gvozdyk.
Oh, he got sparked by Gvozdyk.
Well, he didn't get sparked. He kind of quit and said that his hand was hurting or something.
You know what? When you said Isaac Chalemba, I immediately thought of Isaac Chamberlain. So I thought Bivol was fighting Chamberlain, who was moving down a weight class, but that would be pretty awesome. It's weird, man. I know we're being a little bit too greedy here, and we all knew that Bivol wasn't going to fight Kovalev that soon, but this is pretty much what their previous card was like, wasn't it? Bivol versus Kovalev in a doubleheader against guys that they were, heavily favored against.
Yeah, well,
and then
well,
we're just remixing it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I actually think Kovalev's in the harder fight, but
no, I know it's a little bit better.
But I think
the same time,
with Bivol, it's a bit of a step back. I think because Gvozdyk's already recently beat this guy. I think Bivol's win over Sullivan Barrera is probably better than if he beats Chalemba. So why fight Chalemba? I think it's unless you're just taking cheap money, and he was willing to fight on that date. That's the only reason. It's really bad matchmaking, I think, personally. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's boxing, man. We all knew this was going to happen.
What do you think, Leon?
I don't know what to think about Kovalev anymore, so I think you're right. If anything's going to go wrong, it'll be him, I think. I think Bivol will win that fight, probably 12-round decision. But I think that Kovalev thing, I just don't know what could happen. He didn't look great in his last fight, did he?
Alvarez is pretty good, man. His performance against Pascal, if you wanted to show a kid in the gym how to use the jab, you show him that fight, man. In spurts in that fight, his jab was fucking excellent. And I don't know, he hasn't really shown that much focus on the body, but if he does do that against Kovalev, then it's going to be interesting, because Kovalev does seem a bit soft to the body, and it could be a tough night for Kovalev. I just don't really know what his chin's like. If Alvarez can take a punch, then yeah, man, he's definitely in it. If he can't, then yeah, it's gonna be difficult, because Kovalev, as we all know, he hits hard. So
that's what I mean. Hard. He could knock him out in 2 rounds or something weird like that's what I'm not saying that Kovalev's short. I just don't know what to expect from him anymore. And that's not just a war performance, it's kind of his demeanour post them as well,
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd kind of give Sergey a pass, though. I think it's kind of like the Ankaha situation. that dude was Sergey's like former sparring partner and whatnot. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited that they got Alvarez because I actually think it's a better fight than the Marcus Brown fight that was initially slated. So
yeah,
not too mad at that. But I mean, just Kathy Duva, just the most, irrelevant promoter, I think, and I'm always gonna hate her for not putting Sergey in better positions.
You can't hate her, man. Like, you had a good conversation with the daughter in Vegas, man, so you can't hate her.
Yeah, I guess so. But whatever.
That's about it.
Only thing that comes to my mind with Kathy Duva is just Ski Master Joe's infatuation with her feet.
Oh, her hands.
Oh, her hands. I'm sorry. Either way, he's a weird, sick motherfucker, so.
He's a disturbing man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it for the schedule. Boxing always kind of dies down a bit around August, especially in the UK, but we'll probably do our next pod after the Kovalev fight. But yeah, you guys got anything else you want to talk about?
Paul Smith's best win is Tony Dobson, so that's how he retired.
It's a good win, bro.
Good win. Strong win. That's all I got.
Lim, anything else?
I feel like there's so many things that we didn't hit on. I mean, it's only been like a 2-hour show and we haven't done a show in over 2 months.
Yeah, but
something feels off.
Neilton's not been on, so like there wasn't like a 5-minute answer to like a short question.
And it's not half past midnight in where you are either.
Yeah, that is true. It's still fairly early. No, I just, I don't know, man. I wish boxing was more popping so that we could have weekly shows and really vibrant conversations, but I'm satisfied with this as well. I'll take it where I can get it, And I feel like, our show and just kind of, like, not to sound too down, but I feel like it's very kind of commensurate with, Manny Pacquiao's career, We had a very high, and then we had our Floyd moment, which was, I think, like 2014 when we were in our prime, and then we just kind of had to go with the times, But that's life. We grow and we evolve and mature and we have different priorities.
So when Manny decides to hang it up, should we hang it up as well?
Perhaps, man.
That would be fitting.
Yeah, that was very dark. Sorry about that.
I like that ending. Very gothic.
Alright. Should we call it a night?
Yeah, my cat's driving me nuts.
Alright, Leon, Lim, thank you for your time. The show wasn't on Mixler Live, so all the people that, usually get the email and come into the Mixler chat, we couldn't do it because Mixler kept crashing on me, the application kept crashing, so apologies for that. It will be up on a download, and next show hopefully we will be back with Mixler and people can participate in the chat, so thank you for all the listeners. Thank you for all the people that download. Why do you always spoil the ending, bro? Every fucking time.
I know, I'm sorry. Well, we're not live, so I can spoil it, but I'm just saying, like, to all the 4 people who keep up with us and type in the chat religiously, apologies to the 4 people in the chat.
Sometimes it's 5, bro. Come on. Sometimes it's 5.
Alright. Sorry about that, guys.
Yep. Thank you for all the people that download the show. We'll be back next month. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Oh, dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the number 1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically burn you, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre. I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Do we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass. Just to play devil's advocate.
You want 1 portion of crow or 2 portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side? But you won't rush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you?
He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weigh for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition.